Hey guys, so today I want to speak about ISIS and what the hell ISIS is, because I feel like everybody's like, oh, ISIS did this, oh, ISIS just did another terrorist attack, la la la. But what the hell is ISIS? Where is ISIS? Who created ISIS? Is it even alive today? So I thought a quick little 5-minute recap, or hopefully 5 minutes, is going to clear that up and kind of shed light to the situation about some stuff. And I hope you guys enjoy. So this whole entire story starts in 1979 with the Soviet-Afghan War, which was a war between the USSR, now known as Russia, and Afghanistan, because USSR kind of controlled Afghanistan at the time. But there were some other parties in Afghanistan that were starting to gain control, and when the USSR saw that, it didn't like that, so it decided to send troops in. But this wasn't just a simple let's send troops in. The USSR was also in a war with America, the Cold War, and so whenever the USSR did something, the US would be watching really closely. And so the US obviously came straight away and intervened because they didn't want another country to turn communist. So when the US came, they brought a few of their own troops. But what they mostly did is they took advantage of the other extremist religious groups in the area that were really pissed off that the USSR, this big superpower, was coming into the Middle East and trying to take over. These fighters were called Mujahideens, and the US paid them tons of money. They trained them, they educated them, just so that they would fight for the US and also for themselves. And US kind of took advantage of that. Why this event is important is because two really important guys came out of it. Number one, Osama bin Laden, and number two, Al-Zarqawi. So after all of this fighting in Afghanistan and USSR finally lost, and bin Laden and Al-Zarqawi and all their friends with the US had finally kind of defeated the USSR, they were really empowered by that. And bin Laden went back to Saudi Arabia and started developing the ideas that would become Al-Qaeda, and started getting connections in different countries, especially in Africa, to try to really solidify those connections. But at this point, it wasn't a terrorist organization. It was more just trying to get rid of the superpowers and saying, why the hell are they here? Bin Laden was not only pissed off that the USSR came into Afghanistan, he was also pissed that America and Saudi Arabia, his homeland, had created such a good friendship because of the oil deals that they had created. Besides bin Laden, the other guy that I was speaking about, Al-Zarqawi, he created a group called the JTJ in Jordan in 1999. And this was kind of the foundational group before ISIS really took off. When 9/11 hits, bin Laden goes back to Afghanistan, and Al-Zarqawi now goes to Iraq. And now Iraq is where the center of our story is going to take place. So let's take a look at what's going on in Iraq at this time. Iraq's been controlled for ages by a guy called Saddam Hussein, who no one really likes. He's quite a brutal guy, and he's part of the Sunni minority compared to the Shia majority. Sunni and Shia are two different types of Islam, and this creates a lot of tension within the country. However, after 9/11, the US started getting ideas that maybe Saddam Hussein had been involved with the attack and had somehow helped Osama bin Laden's group Al-Qaeda. So the US launched a massive attack in 2003 to get rid of him. Once Saddam Hussein was killed after the US's crazy attack, a Sunni versus Shia war broke out. Because the Sunnis were much smaller, Al-Zarqawi, the dude from Jordan, decided to help the Sunnis out. Al-Zarqawi was a jihadist superstar now with much power in Iraq, and Al-Qaeda had become irrelevant. So in an attempt to get involved, they joined Al-Zarqawi to create the new group AQI. US intervention in Iraq is still carrying on. It's an absolute mess over there. But in 2006, the US finally managed to capture Al-Zarqawi. This created a bit of heat in the country. And all those Sunnis that were kind of backing him and were part of the AQI or the JTJ or had generally helped him, they began to flood in and they really came together. And they now formed the ISI, which was the Islamic State of Iraq. So we can see that the ISI has now formed in 2007, but the USA decided to put 20,000 troops into Iraq, meaning that until 2011, ISI did not make much progress. Now, we're going to hop over to Syria and see what's going on over there in about 2011. So we have a guy called Assad who's in charge, and some protesters kind of got a bit rowdy, and Assad didn't really like that, and so he launched an attack against them. But what he did is that he released some people from prison, some bad people from prison. He released some old jihadists kind of with really extremist views. And so these rebels that Assad had created became very extremist. And over on the side, Iraq was looking in, and they kind of saw this opportunity to kind of get involved in Syria and maybe get involved with these extremist rebels, since Assad didn't really care. The ISI now has a new ruler called al-Baghdadi. And so al-Baghdadi sees what's going on in Syria and he says, okay, let's send some people over there. So he sends some people over there. And soon enough, the ISI now became the ISIS, just plonked on that S on the end for Syria, because they now had some control in that part of the land. And so in 2013, we have the official formation of ISIS. And al-Assad, that guy, the ruler of Syria, he doesn't really care, because ISIS is helping him against these protesters, so why would he care? 2014 is when all the stuff that everyone kind of knows about starts happening, like the murder of American journalists and the Yazidi genocide. And most importantly, this is when they start their whole propaganda campaign, which is what they're really good at. And why people are attracted to it is because it's not a terrorist organization like we've ever seen before, because ISIS promises an actual piece of land. So tons of foreign fighters began to come, and by this time, ISIS held the territory of the UK and about 11 million people. In 2015, we see strikes in Tunisia, Kuwait, Paris, amongst a few, and things started really to pick up. In 2016, the Brussels bombings happened, and in 2017, the US finally launched an attack, and it managed to get from 11 million people to 2 million people, really diminishing the size of their territory. Iraq finally in 2017 was able to declare freedom from ISIS completely, and so in 2019 now, al-Baghdadi, who was the leader of ISIS, was killed, and ISIS's territory had completely shrunk. So what are they now in 2021? They're not really much. Well, at least they're not much compared to what they were before. Before they had a vast territory, now they don't. They don't have control over Syria and Iraq like they used to, and they're more just a really powerful online organization that is still really networked around and still is using its propaganda to collect, but it doesn't have that vital territory that it used to, which shows that it's not as powerful as it is. But terrorism isn't as powerful as we think it is anyway. It's all in the illusion, which is why we shouldn't believe that. But that's pretty much it for the quick little history of ISIS. There's so much more detail about all of this, but to get it quick, you know, I only gave a little bit of it. I hope it was clear, and I hope you gained something from it. So thank you.